Okay, this is KP4MD. We're now live and on YouTube.
Well, good evening. This is New Kilo Lima 7 Hotel Quebec, Romeo, your night control operator for the evening for the River City Arcs slow scan television net. Stand by. Okay, we have a little bit of audio problem here now. Trying to decrease the audio here. Okay, continue. My apologies. Does not serve for the training and practice of image transmission modes and meets Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. California time on the N6NA repeater on the 441.30 megahertz repeater. River City ARC members and all licensed amateur radio operators are welcome to participate. If you join the net or need to make a call during any time, please announce your call sign between transmissions and net control will acknowledge you. If an emergency should arise and you need the repeater, please contact the net control by saying break break. A double break signifies an emergency traffic and the net will stand by for you until the emergency is terminated or the traffic is moved to another frequency. Who wish to check in, I ask to respond with their full call sign using the recognized ITU phonetic alphabet and their name. I will recognize each station before continuing. Any station who wishes to check in the net, please come
now. This is Carol, Kilo Papa 4 Mike Delta.
Carol, KP4MD. Anybody else? I'll check myself in, KL7HQR, Neil and Antelope. Any other stations to check in on the slow scan television for tonight?
Good evening, Alpha India 6, Delta Golf.
Good evening, Joe. Alpha India 6 Delta Golf. Good signal. Anybody else? I was hoping that either Tom, Bravo Sierra, or Bob would show up tonight. One more time. Anybody else to check in for the River City slow scan television for tonight? No, apparently not. I think the three of us will continue and hope that somebody else shows up. KP4MD, would you care to be our first transmission tonight?
Okay, very good. We'll go ahead and send the picture. It's going to be PD120.
Well, thank you, Carol. I have a good copy here, and looking at the YouTube, looks like there is also a good copy made over there. Uh, Obviously, a tent for the amateur radio operation from the River City Arcs Amateur Radio Club, a big white banner. Uh, there is a table with several rigs on the right-hand side. Obviously, it's on and transmitting. On the left side, looks like there is, looks like an old heat kit. I always get confused with some of the heat kits at the Collins. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 persons that I can identify. A couple of white vans and a blue tent with covering you from the making shade. So good copy here, and I wonder where that is. And if I go to the Farm and Tractor this weekend, it's going to be my first time. So I wonder if that's where that is. So let's see, Joel, do you have any comments for the picture?
Okay, so we're in a grassy area. We've got two pop-ups, canopies next to each other with tables spread out beneath them. We've got people, three guys seated in chairs behind the tables, and a couple of guys standing. Got an white SUV and a white truck with a camper shell in the background. A banner on the front of the tables saying River City Arcs Amateur Radio Club. Gear on top of the tables from left to right. I think it's a Yaesu FT 100 or 101. Miscellaneous, I can't tell what's on the surface, but it's probably like pamphlets or binders or something in front of a guy. He's got a mic in his hand, and he's sitting in front of looks like a small rack mount go box. So I'm assuming he's talking on a rig that's in there. That's on that table. The table beside it. Can't really see what's on the table, but there's something there. I'm assuming stuff in a box, but I can't really discern what. In the background, at the end of the truck, I think I see a tripod and maybe the bottom part of an antenna. So this is an event somewhere. It doesn't look to me like field day. So maybe maybe it's a community event of some kind. And they're doing an outreach to the public. Back to net, AI6DG.
Well, you're good. You're such a good at describing things, Joel. Very good copy. AI6DG, KL7HQR. Well, Carol, just the three of us, so back to you, and let's see what kind of clarifications or corrections you can make on the picture of KL7HQR.
Okay, yeah, this is KP4MD. Very good. Yeah, this picture was taken back in May of 2015. That's 6 years ago at the Rio Linda Farm and Tractor Days. That was our booth that we had there at the Dry Creek Ranch. And the people sitting on the left there is Bob Woodward, N6PGQ. He's actually on a microphone talking into an HF rig that's in his go box there. And the other person in the red shirt to the right is Ken Martin, KE6RMN. He's got a 2-meter station in front of him. He's doing the talk-in on the N6NA repeater. And then to the left of him in the background sitting down is Dave Martin. That's WB6YLK. In from beautiful downtown Wilton. And the other people I can just recognize the one standing on the right side. That's Vince Craziolo. That's K-I-6-N-H-B. And I don't exactly remember who was the one to the left there, but that radio in the foreground is one of the older tube type Yaesu radios, HF radios. You're absolutely right. So you have really good sharp eyes, and we're looking to be active on HF, also on 2 meters, and we're gonna have some CW practice stations there also for the kids. They really love that. It's going to be this Friday and Saturday. I thought it was a good themed picture to send now. So back to net control. This is KP4MD.
KP4MDKL7HQR. Yeah, very, very good. You have good memory, and I imagine you were there as well. But you see, my 20 years absence from ham radio shows very quickly. We're talking about the Yaesu down on the table. By looking at the buttons and the layout of the controls, my mind immediately went back to the old heat kits and the old Collins, and so I missed 20 years of radio. So good for you guys. Very well. Joel, how about you? Do you have a picture ready to send? If so, please go ahead.
It has the wrong color for Heath kit, and it doesn't have the look of Collins. And I'm actually trying to search to find pictures of the Yaesu I'm thinking of, but I have a bunch of Collins here, so I know what they look like, and I've been a Heath kit fan from, well, forever. I had fun building Heath kits. Yes, I do have a picture. This is PD-120.
Go ahead, sir. KL7HQR. Thank you, Joel. I6DG. Good copy here. Very, very little activity on the PayPal today, at least as far as I'm concerned here. A few dots here and there, not that. So very clear. Obviously, picture electronic piece of equipment with a gray with several rows of what appear to be either telephones or Ethernet ports. And on the top there are two handles, and obviously to remove those modules. like it would be for speakers, but they're obviously for ventilation, since there seem to be equipment behind the screen there. I don't know if this would be mounted on a 19-inch rack. It looks okay, but I don't have any idea on the scale exactly. It looks like they have some what appear to be USB ports in there, so it should be smaller than a 19-inch rack. It's sitting on a greenish, bluish appeared table with your call letters on the left-hand side and ports away on the right-hand side. So interested in knowing exactly the details there, Joe. Back to you, Carol, KB4MD, for your comments.
There. Okay. Let's see if this is working. Yellow. Okay. We're back in business. Yeah, I see a bunch of RJ45 jacks, uh, and it looks like it's all on some kind of. I see what looks like two fan vents up at the top of this panel. So I'm not exactly sure what that is, but apparently it's some kind of networking center. So back to net control. This is KP4MD.
Well, I was having problems with my technical stuff here, and you having problems there. I think we better call Wilson back. Anyway, interesting picture. Joel, go ahead and clarify things for us. AI6DG, cable 7HQR.
Well, yep, networking equipment, that's right. I actually have this sitting by my desk. This was used on a project quite a while back, actually. And until we find another use or someone wants it, it's going to stay there. This is a Cisco 4507 chassis that's fully populated with boards. A 4507 chassis, when it's completely empty, is basically all airspace because those two things at the top are big power supplies that pull out, and each one of those horizontal things below it, and there's 7 of them, actually pull out also. And in fact, actually, you'll notice to the left, the lower left, there's a black handle. That pulls out too, and there's a bunch of fans in there to pull air across all of those boards. So up on top, it's 2 power supplies, redundancy, and 2 of a lot of stuff is the mantra here. 2 power supplies. Each power supply has 2 power switches and 2 power cords that goes into it. That's what the 2 big square things are on the left side of each of the power supplies on top. And in between them, there's actually 2 power switches. And the idea is that you can plug into 2 different circuits. Still got the other one. Each one of those power supplies is actually 4,200 watts of power. So altogether, there's 8,400 watts there. So that's a lot of power. So actually, you can get different cables that have different ends on them. So this will run on either 110 or 220. We actually run it on 110, but it probably should be run on 220. Although that 4200 watts is maximum, and I don't think we actually are anywhere near that. Below that, you've got 7 slots to plug boards into. Let me let it drop. And in this configuration, we've got 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, two on the top section and 3 on the bottom section of Ethernet boards. So each one of those boards is got 48 Ethernet ports on it. So that's what is that? 240 ports. There's actually a version of this chassis called 4510 that has 10 slots. So you'd have 4 on top and 4 below, for a total of 384 ports. So obviously we're talking about this being used in a relatively large building that needs a large amount of Ethernet, a lot of stations. And we've actually got, more than one of these for our building. We've got a pretty big building. The 2 boards in the middle, again, redundancy. Each one of those is, well, basically the computer, the CPU that controls the switch. The boards themselves are just interface to plug in the Ethernet. The actual brains are on those 2 cards in the center. You can run on just one of them, but there's 2 of them for, again, redundancy, so that if one goes bad, the other one can take over. And that's also where the connection into the other networking equipment in the building starts. And whereas each of the ports going to the computers is 1 gigabit ether, the connection to those supervisor cards in the center that goes to the rest of the main, the core, your internet connection, it actually runs at 10 gigabit. So this is not the stuff you find at home or in a small office. And all these ports are also what's called PoE, Power over Ethernet. So there are lots of devices, like phones and cameras, that get their power off of the Ethernet, and all of these ports are like that. And that's one reason for the 8400 watts, because if you've got, say, 150 devices that are phones that are each pulling 100 mils or a 1 amp or something, it adds up very quickly. Enough for me. Back to net AI6DG.
AI6DG, KL7HQR in the net. Very well. After your description, it makes it very obvious and very understandable. And it's quite an impressive device. 400 watts, that's quite a lot. And, having worked with NAS a little bit, I understand a lot about the redundancy and the reliability that's required. And here, very much so, because if it's used for business, you definitely don't want to lose that connectivity. A lot of the remote backups depend on that for many companies as well. Very good description. Any additional questions, Carol, on this? Go ahead.
No more questions. Thank you for that explanation. And it looks like you would have a lot of Cat 5 cables in there. I'd hate to get them all mixed up. KP from Declare.
The project that this was involved with was completely rewiring the building. All the Cat 3 phones and Cat 5 door computers was pulled out and replaced with Cat 6. And they put in, that project had about 400,000 feet of wire that went into the building.
You're taking the time, and welcome, and hopefully we will see you within our net in the future as well. I have one small picture, and we'll be sending it on PD 120. Well, we're done with the picture. It's in black and white, obviously. So, Carol, did you get the picture, and any comments?
Yeah, this is KP4MD. I got your picture. It's a black and white picture and looks like some old data processing equipment. I see some like a key punch machine, and I'm not sure what the other machines are, but looks very interesting. So back to net, this KP4MD.
Very well. Thank you, Carol, KP4MD. AI6DG, Joel, how about you? Did you get it?
Yep, excellent reception. So it's black and white. I see a pillar of some kind in the center foreground. To the left of that is an old punch card reader. To the right is the punch reader. To the left of that is a punch card puncher. And to the left of that is an old style line chain printer. Ka-thunk, 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 ka-thunk. Probably with the perforated, well, I guess it could do legal or letter. There's something in front of those. I can't really tell what it is. We can just see the edge of it. But in the distant background, there's some countertops with a couple of magnified ring-lit magnifiers on them, and a guy standing there kind of just like staring back at us taking the picture. Behind him, there's a whole bunch of rack cabinets lining the back wall, but they don't look like old-style mainframe computer cabinets to me. I wonder if they're UPS battery cabinets for the rest of the floor, because obviously we're just seeing part of the machine room floor. There's probably, well, a lot more behind us that we can't see. Things like this, I know, could take up entire floors of buildings. So this is much too small to be all of it. Back to net, AI6DG.
Roger. Thank you, Joe. As always, a very thorough description of the picture, and I was hoping that we would have some younger people here that would not recognize this old-style equipment. But obviously, you got it exactly. The card puncher in the center, the card reader with a card stack feeder there, and the left side, the line printer. And this is a picture that I found on my records. This was at Castle Air Force Base in Edgewater, and I was working there from 1976 to 86 when I retired. And this was the B-52 flight simulator. They had two B-52 flight fixed base simulators there before they got the new weapon systems trainer, which had integrated motion bases. And this, as you said, this is just the beginning of the equipment. The simulator itself are behind me. There's a table here just above N6NA. There's a table with some books in there, and behind are the two cockpits. Those cabinets that you see there are I/O, the input and output, which translates the computer signals into the analog signals to drive all the equipment, all the instruments, which at that time were all analogs. But they were digital, but they were analog instruments. And so it's quite a note. This was taken in approximately about 77. So very good identification there, Joe. Any additional questions?
Do you remember if it was IBM or CDC or Burroughs, or what kind of computer equipment are we looking at? What brand?
This simulator, we had Perkin-Elmer computers, 24-bit Perkin-Elmer computers. I don't remember the capacity. The CDC, the Control Data Corporation, they were at the other simulator that I started with in 1969 through 72 down at Norton Air Force Base in Southern California. They had the CDC 924 computers for the C-141A simulator. And the interesting thing is that they had two computers to run that one fixed-base simulator. The master had core memory, the real interlaced core matrix memory, and the master had 32K, and the slave had 16K, and that's what they used to run a simulator at that time. Over.
Amazing the changes in technology, and what it would take to do this now would be hardly anything. In fact, you could do it at home and probably blow this away.
Well, actually, with my little simulator here, I have better fidelity because these had no visuals whatsoever. They were just instruments, and so no motion and no visual. And of course, the new simulators for the B-52 that came in after this, they had motion and visual integrated with the defensive station, offensive station, flight station, and also with the KC-135 a tanker. So they changed a lot. But my simulator that I have in here has a better resolution in the visual right now and better coverage than I saw on the upgraded shuttle simulator when I was there in the late 90s. So yeah, things have changed a lot. Go ahead.
And even the printers, I mean, look at the size of that thing and how much it weighs and the maintenance it took to do that. Impact printers. I mean, hardly anyone, where do you find impact printers nowadays? They're almost all bubble jet or laser technology. Well, laser or, you know what I mean. No punch cards. I mean, everything in this room is obsolete.
And probably most of us that work there. Yeah, it's all inkjet. yet. And the one thing that I don't show here, because I have another picture that shows very clearly, is the disk drives. They were enormous, and those old big blue with several platens and flying heads, of course, and big components, and their capacity, the big ones, the capacity was 300 megabytes each of them.
And that was big time storage back then, because we don't think about it that as being much now, but back then that was, you've got how much? You'll never fill that.
Yeah, the smaller one was single platinum was 10 megabytes. Then you had the 80 megabytes, and the big one, the 300. To format the disk when you get a new one, it took 6 hours. So yeah, things have evolved. I like to look at these pictures and remember how proud we were and how fantastically advanced we were at that time. And I just wonder what's going to be in 10, 20 years from now. I won't be here anymore, but it's going to be incredible. So. Anyway, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Carol, are you prepared to send another picture since we're still a little early?
Yeah, sure. This is KP4MD. First of all, we're going to put a shout out there to Dave, Kilo Mike 6, Golf Yankee Mike, who's watching us on YouTube. He had a question, is that an imaging suite? And I don't know if he was talking about the photo or what we're doing here, but I think I explained it pretty much to him there in the chat. What we're using MMSS TV, which is the slow scan TV software, and we're streaming it with OBS Studio. Anyway, that's the only comment that I have there, and I do have a picture, but I'll give it back to Net Control just a moment. Over.
No problem. Yeah, I can. I'm looking at YouTube here as well, and I noticed that his question. I noticed that you are responding to him. So feel free to jump in any minute if you have any additional comments addressed to Dave. So if you have another before you send the picture, Joel, are you prepared to send another picture as well?
I can be. You want me to do it now, or do you want to be prepared to do the next picture?
I don't have any more pictures to send, none prepared here. This is the only one I have. So let's go to Carol. At your convenience, Carol, if you prepare, go ahead. If you're not, we'll let Joel go first. So KP4MD, Carol 70, sure. Well, Carol, KP4MD, very good copy here. A little bit haziness on the faces because they are in the shade, but good copy. It appears to be another outdoor activity. There is another blue pop-up tent with some tables. They're starting from the left on the table. Looks like that there is a little bear, and behind that, I believe that's YLK, W6YLK, Dave. And then on the right-hand side, next to Dave, I cannot see who is sitting facing him. The next one in operation, you would not recognize because of the haziness of the picture, but you mentioned earlier Bob in 6BGQ, that could be him. And on the right-hand side here, I recognize him, don't remember name or call, but I know that I've seen him several times in meetings at the club. A big banner, ARRL, the National Association for Amateur Radio, with ARRL logo. In the background, some trailers, a small tree, a red truck, and something bright green on the left side with a grassy area underneath. So overall, very good copy. And let's see what Joel has to say. AI6EG, please go ahead.
Well, I'm thinking this is a different event from the last photo because the layout of the pictures just doesn't, of the table doesn't look the same. I get quite a laugh out of the little teddy bear sitting on the table in the left foreground. It's sitting on top of some power supplies, but it's a teddy bear. So that table's just got stuff sitting on it. The table to the right has got Carol sitting at it, operating a station, but I can't really see the details of the station because it's behind a guy sitting at a chair. I don't recognize that guy or the guy sitting behind Carol, but I do recognize the guy on the left. I recognize him from some of the Elk Grove Florin Club meetings. Though I probably also know his call, but maybe I'm not associating the two together. I'm not the greatest at that. I'm comparing what my reception quality with the YouTube, and I don't understand why mine is so poor and it's so perfect on YouTube. First off, I've got a moire pattern. I keep mentioning that. I can't do anything about that. But there's also, I've got all kinds of noise pops from PayPause that just don't exist on the YouTube channel. So is there a filter? Carol, are you running a filter or something that's automatically removing those? Or do I just not have as strong of a reception of the repeater? Or I'm trying to go in my mind what could cause that difference. Back to net AI6DG.
Okay, maybe I owe Carol an apology to Skill 7HQ, because I'm having a hard time getting the faces in the picture. I recognize Dave because of his stance and his head, and but I cannot. Now that you mention it's Carol, okay, but I would not have detected that. So, Carol, back to you for your comment, KP4MD.
Okay, very good. This is KP4MD. Well, the person in the foreground with their back towards you is Dave's brother. That's Ken Martin, KE6RMN. And yes, that's me there in the blue shirt. And then the gentleman sitting behind me is Roger, KI6FIF. He was my husband who was there at the time. And this is another instance of the farm and tractor days. These pictures were taken also at the Dry Creek Ranch in 2017. So it's a little different setup, but we were a little different from year to year. So yeah, that cute little bear, by the way, I call him Sparky. He's got the telegraph key on his back, and just like a little conversation piece for the kids that come by that are trying out the Morse code. So back to net control. This is KP4MD.
Roger, thank you for the clarification. Interesting. Do you still have the little bear?
Yeah, affirmative. He's here, and we can bring him this weekend. So, yeah, a lot of fun. KP for MD.
Roger, Roger. Do you have any comments on Joel's question as far as the quality of the picture or any filtering that you may have?
Oh, yes, absolutely. When I'm sending a picture and you're seeing it on YouTube, it's actually not going through the repeater. It's what I'm doing is I'm using what they call a loopback. It's taking the audio that's coming out of MMSS TV and it's looping it back into the program and decoding it. So it displays it at the same resolution that you would be receiving it, but it's a direct connection. There is no, it doesn't go through the radio. Over.
Go ahead, Joel.
Few times in there, but I got the gist of that, and that explains it all. There's no RF path, so it's perfect reception because there's no path. Well, there is, but it never leaves the computer.
She's doing Ethernet wired versus a Wi-Fi, if I understand correctly. Anyway, good pictures, and I apologize for not having a second one. I'll try to prepare a couple for next time. And any additional comments? I have here about a quarter to 10. Any additional comments or anything else before we close the net for tonight?
Late check-in?
Late check-in, please go ahead.
Good evening, this is K3REH, Anders in Folsom, and I'm sorry to be so late, but I would love to try to send a picture, and this is my first time trying SSTV over a repeater.
Roger, welcome, no problem. It's K3 Romeo Echo Hotel, is that correct? And please repeat the name.
That is correct, Anders in Folsom.
Okay, Anderson. Very, very glad to have you aboard. Please let us know what mode. I think all of us are using the automatic mode here, but if you know what mode it is, go ahead and send your picture to the scale 7HQ1.
I have pushed PD120, and give me 1 second, and I'll start the picture.
And welcome. Anderson, K3REH, good copy here, KL7HQR. Let's pass it on to Joel, AI60G, for initial comments. Go ahead.
So we've got a wooden tabletop we're looking down at. On the left, there's a laptop with, I can't really tell what's on the display, but I'm guessing it's maybe a programming IDE, a development environment. To the right of that, we've got a wood board with various devices attached to it and wires going between them. It looks like above that board there's a metal bar going basically across the whole screen and off to the right. Behind that board and behind the metal bar is a black box with a meter and some knobs on it. We've got some wires going off of the board in the front, going back and across and back over to the laptop with some other device. It doesn't look like a knob, but there's a metal bracket with something attached to it. I have no idea what this is. I can't even tell if I'm looking at servo motors or Arduino stuff, or is it maybe a DIN industrial controller of some kind? Well, I look forward to hearing. Back to Net AI60G.
Well, even when you don't know what you're looking at, your descriptions are good. So, very good. Carol, KP4MD, for your comments.
Okay, this is KP4MD. First of all, I'd like to say very good evening to you, Anders, and thank you for joining us on the Slow Scan TV Net. Your picture came through very well. If I don't know if you're looking on YouTube, but there are a few pixels, pops here and there that are off color, and that's just due to the pave pause radar that's on this frequency band. It causes a few pulses here and there and some dropouts. Just like Joel said, there's a piece of looks like an aluminum bar going horizontally there, and it has some items on top of it. I'm wondering if that's something to do with laser or microwave or something. It's very curious, and that's laying on top of this. This looks like some kind of a little stand or a box, and there might be a some kind of a stepper motor or something underneath it. I really can't tell, but it looks like there's something that's controlled by the laptop and some kind of a microcontroller underneath there. And that's my guess. So back to net control. This is KP4 Mike Delta.
And this is KL7HQR net control. Yeah, I agree with everybody. The wooden yellowish tabletop, the little device right in the middle with some green labels and a couple of green LED lights on. On the aluminum bar that's going across, there is what appears to be a sphere of some kind with a little cut. I have something similar to that I use here, which is to position wires to be going behind the desk. And some of them have one slot, some of them have several, but that could be, the black could be a slot for a wire, but it doesn't seem to be go deep enough to be that. Probably it's not. But besides that, I agree with all the other descriptions, and I am just as interested in the explanation. So, Anders, K3REH, please go ahead.
Well, you all had the description right on. That is, Joel was really close there. This is a little industrial controller. I am actually the inventor of that little gray box in the middle there. That is my product that I make and make a living on. It is connected to an antenna in the background, so the little metal bracket with the black knob on it is a cellular antenna. It's using a system called Cat M1 to communicate with the world. The laptop is actually not part of this system at all at this point. It's just sitting there for, it was used originally to set it up, but it's not actually connected to the system right now. And the whole thing is really a science experiment. There is a little servo in the on the right side of the picture there with a little wheel on it that controls the angle of that metal bracket that goes across the picture from left to right. And the little sphere is a ping pong ball. So, and if you look all the way to the left of the metal bracket, that's a distance sensor that measures the distance from that point of the metal bar there to the end of the metal bar to the ping pong ball. So, and that's fed back into the controller. So the whole thing is actually trying to balance that ball in the middle of the rail that is rolling back and forth. And you can blow on it, and you can tilt it, and you can be mean to it in all kinds of ways. And the thing just tries to compensate and put the ball back into the middle. So it was really an experiment to see if we could make that control logic into our little control box in the middle there. So that is what this picture is all about. So thank you so much for letting me in, and it was awesome to try to send a picture, and apparently it worked. So thank you so much. K3REH, back to net.
K3REH, back KL7HQR net control. Very good, interesting that I was looking at the aluminum bar and I was seeing it as a flat surface instead of the concave of the V. And with the ping pong ball being able to roll back and forth. So very interesting. Whenever there is time and another opportunity, would like to hear a little bit more about your invention. So glad to have you come in and join us. And let's see, Carol, you have any additional comments? Go ahead.
No, I just want to say thank you very much, Anders, for explaining it. It makes perfect sense, and um, thank you for a very, very interesting picture. I think it was one of the most interesting ones we had tonight. Back to net. This is KP4MD.
Again, Joe, AI6DG, any additional comments, sir?
See the YouTube video. This would be a perfect topic for a YouTube video.
We'll leave it at K3 REH. Any plans on that?
Well, I certainly have video of the setup, and I'd be happy to upload that and share that link to anybody that wants to see it. It's shaking around and looks pretty violent at times, but it's a fun little project, and certainly has some science behind it to get that ball to balance in the middle. Obviously, this is well-known technology at this point. I mean, this PID control is used in all kinds of systems. I mean, we have the drones that are using this all the time in more axes than two, so certainly much more advanced. But this was something that we were able to do really from the ground up, so that's why it was fun. So thank you so much. K3RH, back to net.
Roger. Very interested in seeing it. One question, is there any chance that, without any commitment, is there any chance that we could enjoy your presence on the net on occasion, or as often as you could possibly join us?
I will certainly make an effort to do that in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's all, like Carol says, it's one of the most interesting and thought-provoking pictures. So really enjoyed it. Thanks again. One more chance for any additional comments, and otherwise we will close the net for tonight. Well, having had a really enjoyable evening, quite a few interesting, intriguing pictures exchanged, I would like to close the net now. It's approaching 2200. Yeah, it is 2200 on the dot right now. And we will be back with Slow Scan Television on next Wednesday at 9 p.m. Pacific Time. And look forward to seeing all of you there. This is KL7HQ1 at Control for tonight, saying good night, returning the repeater to normal operation, 73.